Malawi Tourism Council says the country's tourism industry is on sickbay due to challenges worsened by COVID-19. And in sports news, Netball Association of Malawi to launch a national trophy mid this month. Stay with us, we have these and many more. We start with news that truck drivers have called off their 4-day nationwide strike that was staged in demand of increased salaries and a waiver of some regulations in their work. Representatives of the Truck Drivers Union met government ministers on Friday on the impasse where consensus was reached. At the meeting, a task force was formed to allow the truck drivers to hold consistent engagements with government on issues affecting their work. Chomparata gave us his report.
5 cabinet ministers engaged representatives of the truck drivers' unions, where the two sides reached a consensus to call off a strike that lasted 4 days. Government during the meeting announced from today onwards 86% of work will be dominated by local importers, and this should force employers of the truck drivers to comply with the 140,000 kwacha salary to international truck drivers as it was demanded. Minister of Homeland Security, Richard Chimwendo Banda, who led the joint press briefing, said the two sides have also formulated a task force composed of the 5 ministers and members of the unions to consistently engage government on issues affecting their welfare. Minister Chimwendo added that the truck drivers will now access a waiver of the 48-page passport fees and that international drivers will not pay COVID-19 test fees on entry into the country.
Most of these issues were actually awaiting legislation. The issues of the passports, the issues of COVID fees, there were laws that were made, and we needed to repeal such laws, and we have done that. That's why the drivers are able to tell you that from now onwards they're able to enjoy these benefits that have been fighting. The minimum wage has also been an issue, but now it's a law. It's been gazetted.
An executive member of the Truck Drivers Association, Bison Mibando, expressed contentment over government's commitment to resolve their recurring issues.
Yeah, we have reached an agreement. What we did was, when we were contacted, we said we wanted to do a petition to the joint ministerial meeting. And so today we went over those issues with the ministers, and at the end of going those issues, we submitted to them our grievances that have been there, that have been going on for several years now, I can say. And so we have agreed. I think we are satisfied with the sort of conversation we've had with the joint ministerial meeting, that our grievances are going to be taken care of. We've also given...
Gas stations have been running low of supply as a result of the 4-day strike, and this prompted government to deploy military personnel to assist in the haulage of fuel from Nokma depots to filling stations.
We now go to politics because earlier in the week, lawyers for the opposition DPP Samuel Tembenu and Charles Mhango countered Attorney General's argument that the party has no sufficient interest to go to court to seek nullification of the 2020 fresh presidential election. The two lawyers submitted that the matter at hand is not an electoral matter as presented by the AG, but a constitutional one. This is what Mhango later told us.
Take the duties for the office to which you have been appointed in the Constitution. You should first of all swear that you are going to defend that Constitution. And I was surprised that my learned friend, the Honorable Attorney General, now seems to suggest that he has not taken, accept that he has not taken the oath, and he seems to suggest that it's not necessary because he's a public officer. I was appointed as a public officer. I did not swear at State House, but before I executed any of my duties, I was given an oath in writing, which I took at the office. It was only then that I was allowed to sign documents as Attorney General and also to advise government institutions as Attorney General, including the President of the Republic of Malawi. I think it's a serious issue, but we are going to look at the law and see the implications.
However, Attorney General Thabo Chakaka Nyirenda argued when presenting preliminary objections on DPP's request that the party has no sufficient interest to seek nullification of the election.
Not concerned at all, because I think they cannot locate a law that says that before you start working as an Attorney General, you need to be sworn in. They can't locate a law. You say there, they raise an objection, they never locate it. And they're also surprising. We started this case a long time ago. They never raised the issue of being sworn in. Yesterday we were in court, they never raised that issue. Today, curiously, they're raising that point. So it's not a valid point. I'm there as a public officer. I'm not a minister. So as a public officer, I'm not supposed to take oath. And also, what is important, I demonstrated, I worked under previous Attorney Generals, Dr. Jenans. I was never took oath of office. And as well, Justice Maxim Bendera, he was appointed as a public officer, not as a minister. He never took oath of office. So you cannot talk about a practice. And then, of course, if there's a practice, that practice cannot take the place of a law. It might be a practice not supported by law.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 warned in the week that it will revert to stricter its restrictions if people continue to ignore set preventive measures during political rallies, among others. The task force co-chairperson, Dr. Wilfred Chalamilankoma, say this on concerns that adherence is plummeting during campaign rallies in areas gearing for the by-elections next month. John Pokayuni gave us the details.
Politicians have gone wild, gathering thousands of people at one place as they campaign for the forthcoming parliamentary and local government by-elections in 3 constituencies of Nkhotakota North East, Mzimba East and Dedza Central East, as well as Chimwalire Ward in Balaka. Wearing of face masks, social distancing and hand washing are no longer part of such rallies. This is in gross violation of the state COVID-19 preventive measures, a development which has worried the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Task Force co-chairperson Dr. Wilfred Chalamilankoma says if this continues, the task force will have no option but go back to earlier restrictions of 100 people per outdoor meeting.
All the other gatherings, we have not given any other special waiver. So we expect all of them to be respecting the 250 maximum outdoors.
Democratic Progressive Party DPP spokesperson Shadrack Namalomba says his party is law-abiding, accusing Malawi Congress Party of breaking laws.
I would want to encourage our supporters, our members to say, okay, follow the guidelines. It is for our own health. It is for our own good that we should protect each other from spreading the COVID-19. But we are just baffled by the conduct of the Tonse government.
MCP campaign director Moses Kunkuyu puts the blame on the people themselves.
We have been putting hand wash stations, we've been advising people to maintain social distance, and we have been distributing face masks. But where there are political gatherings or any other social gatherings that you may have observed, not many people adhere to these preventive measures.
Recently, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 relaxed some of its restrictions where the figure of people gathering at one place was adjusted from 100 to 250 following a downward trend in the new infections. For Zodiak, this is John Paul Kayuni.
To ICT issues, President Lazarus Chakwera said meaningful investment in digitization will help Malawi mitigate a spectrum of challenges it is facing in the quest to realize tangible development. The president noted that with digitized systems in Malawi, a lot of socioeconomic problems such as corruption will be reduced significantly as it promotes clean business dealings, increases accountability in public spending, and improves speed and efficiency of public service delivery, among others. He was speaking in Lilongwe at the start of the International ICT Expo 2021, but Sopiri filed this report.
The International ICT Expo 2021 has officially been launched by President Lazarus Chakwera with an emphasis that digitalization is a key area in his development agenda. He said digitalization is one of the 3 accelerators to growth alongside job creation and food security. The president then ordered the Minister of Information to work alongside his counterparts from the Ministries of Justice and Trade to come up with legislation that will make it possible for ICT to be the main way of doing things in government. He said doing that could reduce corruption, among other vices. But speaking earlier, Players in the ICT sector, notably the president of the ICT Association of Malawi, ICTAM, Bram Fudzulani, and the Director General for the National Planning Commission, lamented low penetration of ICT products and services among Malawians. They attributed this to high taxes and asked the government to look into the issues. And Minister of Information, Gospel Gazago, says the government was engaging various players in the ICT sector to make sure that ICT services and products were affordable. For Zodiak, this is Madalito Piri reporting.
Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation made a call on legislators to revise 4 laws which it believes are hindering progress in the implementation of access to information law in the country. CHRR Executive Director Michael Kayatsa notes that the country is struggling with the implementation, hence the call for review of the laws that include Official Secrets Act and Electronic Transaction and Cybersecurity Act. Malawi joined the global community this Tuesday commemorating the International Day for Universal Access to Information. Anafem Lamba gave us this report.
As Malawi joins the rest of the world in commemorating the International Day for Universal Access to Information, the Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation says the country is not making progress in the implementation of the Access to Information Act. The human rights body notes that most ministries are still withholding information, citing the recent Public Sector Review report. Executive Director for the CHRR, Michael Kayatsa, feels some laws have been hindering implementation of the Access to Information Act, hence the need to review them.
The Official Secrets Act, if you look at this piece of legislation, you find that Section 24 of this Act empowers public officials to withhold some information which they have come across in the course of their duties. We are also talking about the Electronic Transaction and Cybersecurity Act of 2016, which also has some provisions which empower the government, for example, to restrict online communications. So what we are saying is that this provision empowers, the government, to restrict access, to the internet. And as we know, internet is very important with regards to access to information. So if the government is empowered to restrict this access, it means the right to information which is provided under Section 37 of the Constitution.
Chairperson for the Media Institute for Southern Africa, Teresa Ndanga, has concurred with Kayatsa, saying the laws are restrictive to journalists.
Where we still have laws that appear to hinder access of information, we definitely need to review them. Mr. Malawi has been advocating for a review of a number of laws, especially those that hinder access to information on the part of journalists. There is a whole list of laws that we need to look at. Some are really, really old laws, and we think that, they are being kept for political reasons.
The Access to Information Act became operational on 20th September 2020.
But Information Minister Gospel Kazako argues the law is operational and disputed accusations that some ministries and government institutions are hindering implementation.
The Access to Information law is very alive. Probably what we should be doing, we should be celebrating that Malawi for the first time is celebrating this day, a day that celebrates access to information while having a law in place. For many, many years, this law was not in its place. So instead of us looking at it from a differently structured way of looking at things, I think we need to be positive when you're looking at what we have achieved so far as a country. That does not necessarily mean that there aren't challenges. We have challenges, and we are certainly looking at those challenges to make sure that this law is doing what it's supposed to do. Remember, it is this government, the government of Lazarus Makafe Chakwera, that had made it possible that this law must be put into place.
If the Access to Information law is fully operational, can you please tell us why are most ministries withholding information despite the Act being operational? A recent case being the recent Public Sector Review report, which has been kept from the citizenry.
Well, let me say that the Access to Information law is operational and it's fully operational. And nobody is withholding information. But you must also remember that there are provisions in that law, and those provisions do not necessarily provide that you shall provide you shall provide information within such a time. For example, the report that you're talking about, that report is something to do with the office of the president. It is the president that had directed the vice president to work on a report and submit it to his office. So at an opportune time, certainly the president will release it.
You're watching This Week in the News on Zodiac. We still have more to come. Stay with us.
Sompenya amalawi watukula malawi 2063 kale wozimira pale kufika 2063 kale wokomera aliyense achinyamata tikwira ne manja tukula malawi achinyamata tikale patsogolo tukula malawi malawi wozimira pale malawi wokomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
Welcome back. The headlines as we continue with this edition of This Week in the News. Truck drivers call off 4-day nationwide strike. Lawyers for the opposition DPP and Attorney General Tasso in court over 2020 fresh presidential election. Malawi Tourism Council says the country's tourism industry is on sickbed due to challenges worsened by COVID-19. In sports, Netball Association of Malawi to launch a national trophy mid this month. Moving on, security expert Sheriff Kaisi said the death of former Deputy Speaker of Parliament within the premises of the August House must be a wake-up call for security to be maximized, irrespective of the status of members visiting the place. Parliament says former Deputy Speaker Clement Chiwaya shot himself dead on Thursday. The National Assembly spokesperson Ian Mwenye said security personnel mistook a security alert at the security checkpoint for the wheelchair the late Chiwaya was using when he entered the gates of the August House. Western Guda followed up the story.
A security expert, Sheriff Kaisi, said it is high time security was maximized at the August House despite the respect given to members of Parliament.
There is no way you can manage security in that sense that you have cameras, and those cameras, for example, and the detectors, they do detect, and then you say probably this is not what we are here for. To me, I would say that there is negligence in terms of how security should be provided in those vulnerable and high-risky places like the Parliament. In security, we suspect everything. If the detector came up with a noise or a sound, there's no way a security personnel well-trained would say that it is reacting on the wheelchair. No, there is always a provision of physical searching. That one, you can never rule it out. You would have said, for example, that, sir, please can you stop a little bit? And then you search. But just believing on the machine and saying, concluding yourself that no, it's because of the metal on the wheelchair, I think that's wrong.
Meanwhile, the United Democratic Front, UDF, which the late Chiwaya was a member of the National Executive Committee, through its publicity secretary, Yusuf Mwawa, has said that circumstances surrounding Chiwaya's death should make everyone do a soul searching on how the administrative justice system in the country has for long caused untold misery to innocent Malawians. Chiwaya also served as Member of Parliament of Mangochi Central constituency. For Zodiac, this is Western Guta.
Early in the week, government said that it is failing to secure a new extended credit facility from the International Monetary Fund due to long-standing debts and misinformation in the reporting to the fund by the previous administration. Minister of Finance Felix Mlusu told journalists in Irongo Monday that despite these challenges, negotiations with the IMF are progressing well. And Afim Lamba filed this report.
Malawians will have to wait longer to access the extended credit facility a year after the facility was cancelled. Addressing journalists in Ilongwe on Monday, Minister of Finance Felix Mlusu said negotiations about the credit facility are in progress, but government is facing resistance from the IMF due to a 4.1 trillion kwacha debt. Mlusu also blamed the previous administration for misreporting to the IMF, but he was, however, quick to point that government is restricting borrowing as a way of lessening debt.
They were making decisions on incorrect information that they were given. In fact, we reached a stage where we were asked to refund to the IMF some of the disbursements which they made to us on the basis of the misreporting that was done.
While calling upon government to hold into account those involved in misinformation to the IMF, economic expert Dr. Bechan Chereni says there's need to come up with long-term solutions considering the current economic trend.
We have seen what has been happening to the Malawi kwacha. It has been misbehaving, and we need some kind of injection to make sure that the balance of payment has improved. If we are not going to let it to improve, it's going to be very bad, because at the end of the day, we are going to have an economy where imports are expensive.
In September 2020, the Tonse-led administration cancelled the International Monetary Fund IMF program Extended Credit Facility ECF due to what was acknowledged as change of policy.
Meanwhile, a reporter also caught up with DPP spokesperson on finance Joseph Mwanaveka, who refuted the accusations, saying the DPP-led administration was transparent.
DPP has always been transparent, it has been accountable, and it has always told the IMF the truth. We never lied to the IMF. And whatever we told the IMF, when the IMF mission comes to Malawi, they had to verify what is on the ground. That's why you have missions. The missions come here to verify what you have told them. And indeed, what we are telling them is what agreed with their own mission when they come here. So it is not true what the minister is saying, that we lied. We never lied to the IMF, and that's not DPP. DPP doesn't lie. It doesn't never lie. What we are telling them is what was true and what was on the ground.
The Malawi Tourism Council says the country's tourism industry is on the sickbed due to numerous challenges that have been worsened by COVID-19 epidemic. Speaking in Lilongwe at an interface meeting between Minister of Tourism Dr. Michael Usi and players in the sector, Executive Director for the Council Richard Mgetseni proposed establishment of the Tourism Authority to bring sanity in the sector. Minister Usi said proposals by the councils will be scrutinized at the ministry level to map the way forward. Winston Kamina reports.
A number of challenges affecting the country's tourism industry were mentioned during tourism ministers' interface with stakeholders in the sector. They included high taxes paid by various players in the sector and poor road networks. Executive Director for the Malawi Tourism Council, Richard Mgetseni, said the industry is on the sickbed due to the economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 epidemic. He said there is need for tourism industry reform, targeting areas such as land laws and financing to revamp the sector. Mgetseni also proposed the formulation of a tourism authority to regulate operations in the sector at all levels.
We are being choked. The sector can't breathe because there are numerous taxes at local assembly level, district level, national level, and lots of licenses to contend with. So we are saying, can you streamline and maybe come up with some thin level of charges?
Minister of Tourism Dr. Michael Usi said suggestions made at the meeting will be assessed at the ministry level to map the way forward. He, however, noted that some of the proposals shall require amendment of laws.
Government is putting strategies in place to make sure that we still breathe in as far as tourism development is concerned. For example, our coming together here is one such strategy. We are discussing, we are looking at viable options to mitigate the impact.
The interface came at a time the global community observes the Tourism Month under the theme Tourism for Inclusive Growth. Winston Kaimira reporting for Zodiak in Lilongwe.
We now turn to sports news. The Netball Association of Malawi has announced that it will launch a national trophy mid this month, the first tournament in 2 years after activities were suspended due to COVID-19. NAM General Secretary Isaac Chumala has told us the 50 million kwacha showpiece replaces the Presidential Netball Cup. Sambanda has the details.
After an extended period of idleness due to COVID-19, netball is now back to business with a 50 million kwacha showpiece next month, courtesy of the Netball Association of Malawi. NAM General Secretary Isaac Chimwala has told us the competition will have the same format as the defunct Presidential Netball Cup and will be played from the district, regional and national level. According to Chimwala, Malawi National Council for Sports has assured the funds will be available, and the tournament, to run for 3 to 4 months, will help Malawi Queens and junior national team coaches identify players ahead of the Kosana Regional 5 African Union Sports Council Games in Lesotho this December and other competitions which the Malawi Queens will participate.
We have seen that there is a lot of concentration on our game at the 3 or 4 major cities, Atlanta, Lilongwe, Mzuzu. Because of that, we have lost an opportunity to bring in players that are equally good. For instance, if you go to Karonga, you will find very good players, but because of the non-presence of a netball league at that level, these players do not end up to anything else.
Former Malawi Queens captain Amy Waya Chongwe says signals that most Malawi Queens players are past their prime and the need for fresh blood have been there.
Teams like New Zealand, Australia, England, and Jamaica will always compete to break in the top 4. These teams, they are always grooming our next teams. So Malawi is long overdue to have these tournaments, nurturing talent, so that we can be replacing the teams gradually.
Currently, the Central Region does not have a sponsored league, but the Southern Region Netball League is bankrolled by Rainbow Paints, and the Northern Region League also has sponsorship.
That's all we had time for in this week in the news. A reminder of some of the top stories before we leave you. Truck drivers call off 4-day nationwide strike. Lawyers for the opposition DPP and Attorney General tussle in court over 2020 fresh presidential election. Malawi Tourism Council says the country's tourism industry is on sickbed due to challenges worsened by COVID-19. In sports news, Netball Association of Malawi to launch a national trophy meet this month. Visit our website for more on these and other stories. I am Sibongile Siambo. Thank you for watching and goodbye.